one to get us going. So we're going to move on to the Senior B. On paper, it's a highly competitive championship. So in Group 1, we have Brownstown, Father Dalton's and Raherney. Group 2 consists of St. Bridget's, Crookedwood and Culligan. So Jerry, Brownstown and Father Dalton's up first in Group 1. So who do you fancy here?
Hard one to call, to be honest. Very, very tricky one to call. Probably go with Brownstown. Again, I was chatting there a few minutes ago about the clubs that used to be dependent on certain families. Brownstown are a prime example of that over the years. And I know a few people in Brownstown that have been very frustrated by the drop over the years from being kind of perennial challengers for the Westmeath Examiner Cup and now, you know, not being Senior A. You know, have struggled again to bring players through. Father Dalton's, you know, have achieved an awful lot in recent years, but a difficult match to predict. But let me put my head in the block and say Brownstown to win that game. But that could be a very competitive match to start off the championship.
And just when you're talking about there with not having a lot of players, is that people moving away from the club? I don't know, moving out of Westmeath, or is it just people not having as many children?
I think it's, to be honest with you, I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay.
The days of families of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are gone, you know.
Oh, big time, yeah.
And you know, that's not being proved. That's the
Brownstown wouldn't have a huge pick either. Like, it's a very small area that they're picking from.
The Brownstown, you know, all the Davises and lads like that, you know, you can. There was a time you could form a team, the guts of a team.
They're joined Roll of Honour, aren't they?
Yeah, they are 3, 4 families, you know. So they've gone back over the years, but you know, Father Dalton's conversely have made serious progress. So,
serious strides, yeah.
Probably go for Brownstown with that, as I say.
And Butter Raherney are another team with 2 championship teams, and their underage has been flying in the last few years.
Yeah, they're the strongest team at underage level over the last 4 or 5 years, especially. They've been winning championships at every grade. These are a serious outfit. They're like, we played them in the semi-final of an intermediate championship last year, and they gave us some right good hockey. They've a load of young lads. When you're playing in an intermediate or a Senior B championship, you need young lads. You need lads that are able to run. I think the game between Father Dalton's and Brownstown is going to be to decide who comes out of the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that game is going to come down to a battle between Conor Shaw and John Gilligan. Yeah. 2 county hurlers playing Senior B, 2 very, very good players. I think whoever wins the battle between the 2 of them will come out of the group.
Dalton's have a few good young lads as well, though, Alan, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but
Gilligan's
the driving force behind that team. He's a serious operator, especially at that level. And I think it will come down to if Conor Shaw can curtail him, Brownstown will win, but if he can't, I think Father Dalton's will win, and I think Raherney are dead certain to come out.
Brilliant. And Paul, then Group 2, probably the group favourites would be Crookedwood, but they'll have to play the winners of Culligan and St. Bridget's, so who do you fancy will come through?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that Crookedwood are the favourites in that group. Just on a personal opinion,
who do you think?
I think Culligan are the coming team. They're young, they're hungry.
Yeah.
They've got some wonderful hurlers, like young Jack Calvin is as good a young hurler as there is in the county, like, you know, he's a fine young talent. And down the spine of their team is particularly where I find there's a young Regan lad there at centre of the field, fine midfielder, great pair of hands, can drive a ball forever. And I think they're very strong. If I was to have a bet in the morning, as Jerry has often alluded to, if we were given 20 quid for nothing, who would I have it on? I'd have it on Culligan. I think Bridget's and Crookedwood will be fighting it out for the second spot in that. I think the Wood probably are a little bit too strong for Bridget's, and I think Bridget's might struggle from the fact that a lot of their players are involved with senior football clubs and top end intermediate football clubs, and I think that's why they've struggled over the last while. I see Culligan top in that group, and I see Crookedwood coming in a second in it, in my opinion.
And is there many dual stars then?
In Bridget's, there'd be quite an amount of them. Conor Slevin.
They'd have 4 or 5 turns past players, they'd have 4 or 5 Ross Bridge players, and 4 or 5
Mid-Garrities.
They'd have probably 12 or 13 lads that are predominantly football.
Okay.
They're probably the best going in that whole championship.
Is that because they might be better in the football?
They're not run out of the same village. Like we're lucky in a way that my club are dual, but we run out of the same village.
Yeah.
Their hurling club is run out of 3 different villages, and it's not as if everyone plays.
Yeah.
It's a small club struggling for numbers. I think they'll struggle this year because of the way the championships ran. I think all their players will give their throw their lot in with the football behind the teams.
They have the best goalkeeper in the county, in my opinion. I haven't said that.
Yeah, I think Art's great.
He's a serious goalkeeper. It doesn't make a team, but
Yeah,
you know,
it's the most important place on the pitch.
He is a serious goalkeeper now.
And Jerry, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it's very, very hard to call that group, but I think the lads have summed it up there about Bridget's, you know, the dual commitments. In fairness, you look at most clubs have dual players, probably slightly different from your county of Meath, but most fellas in Westmeath.
Oh, we're mostly
Yeah.
dual in our club anyway.
Yeah, most lads play both hurling and football, and I think as Alan said there, the Bridges could lose out because of that. But yeah, I'd probably go for Cullion and Crookedwood to come out of that, but it'd be a nervous bet if I had that now, because Bridget's firing on all cylinders are probably every bit as good as Crookedwood and Cullion. But I think it was Alan again, as I said that they're probably going to. The dual commitments might just hinder them there. So very, very tricky group now. It wouldn't be a confident prediction that at all by any means.
And we'll ask now, so who do you think will make the final and who will come out on top with it? You go first.
I think it'll be the same pairing as the intermediate hurling final last year. It'll be Raharney's second team and Cullion, and I fancy Cullion to come out on top again, because I think Raharney might lose a few extra players this year compared to what they would in a normal year, with there's probably going to be extra subs and stuff like that used at senior level because of minimal amount of training and stuff like that. So I just think with injuries and everything like that, Raharney might just come up short and Cullion to win.
Good stuff.
We don't always agree on that, but I have to agree with Alan on that. I think he's absolutely spot on. I think Cullion are a common side. I think they will more than hold their own even at senior level compared with some of the senior teams that we have in the county. I think they're young, they're hungry, they want to play hurling, they're physical, they're strong, they've got a lot of great hurlers as well. I see them making the final. I also see Raharney making the final. I don't think they'll have any problem in that other group, if I'm being brutally honest. I think it'll be Raharney Cullion final, and I think Cullion will edge it again. I think they might win it by a little bit more than they won the intermediate final last year.
And Jerry?
I'm going to go for the same final, and I'm going to take a chance on Raharney.
Oh.
Because they've had so many good underage teams in recent years. I think they have a plethora of good players coming through, and if they don't lose too many to the top team, I have a hunch they might win that.